Hello there, business owners. It's Chris and Nick here again with another episode of Coaching Conversations. Nick, how are you today?
Hello. Very good. Had a good weekend. And
Good.
It's 30 degrees today. Do you believe it?
Wow,
Yeah.
30.
Yesterday it was raining. Today's 30. So it's
Far out.
pretty awesome.
I think it's creeping up to 27 today here where we are.
Creeping up to 27 in the northern New South Wales.
Yes. So it's winter and then boom, summer straight away. There's no
And
spring.
I like summer, so it's all right.
Yeah, summer's all good.
Yeah.
Today I want to kick off with a question which we hear all the time. And it's a common theme, a common trend. You've already seen the question, Nick, so you know where we're heading. But it's something that we get. It's one of probably the most common challenges that we see with a lot of trades-based businesses. So if you're a sparky, a plumber, a builder, a carpenter, a tiler, a roofer, anyone who's in the trades, you want to know, you're really going to want to listen to this question. The question is, how do I get off the tools faster? We all know that they're trying, those people in the trades are trying to grow their businesses, and steady compounding incremental growth is good. But sometimes it feels like a struggle to try and get off the tools. So what's your advice to get off the tools faster, Nick?
Yeah, look, I think that's a question that has kind of a multiple answer to it, so to speak. The key consideration, I think, is, which kind of comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg in this particular case? Because most people are on the tools, it's either because they need to be on the tools, they don't have the systems and procedures in place to have somebody else to fill their spot, or there's a cash flow issue. I can't afford to have somebody else, fill that spot. Yep. Or the final one is, and this is probably the biggest one out of them, I can't let go. So that's a big one. So here's where I usually start with my clients. Number one, I think we need to be tactical. In other words, how do I start to think about saying, well, if I'm on the tools 8 to 10 hours per day, how do I get on the tools about 7 hours per day? So just give me an hour saving. And if you're smart, you'll just work smarter rather than hard. Build meetings back to back, be able to have trades, get there at a particular time so I can take off quicker, and then be able to have communication set up in a particular way. And I'm going through this with a lot of my clients. One of my clients just this week we were talking about, and I said, look, you've said that you need to be on that job for 4 weeks. It's a big job, a couple of $1 million worth. I said, how do you go from 4 weeks to a week? What do you need to do? What do you need to start to think? And a lot of us don't think solution-based. We just think, that's just the way it is. But if you were going on holidays with your kids or whatever it may be, well, obviously the plane's not going to wait for you until you sort your shit out. You got to get to the airport on time. So that's critical. So tactically, I think the question to ask is, how can I be more tactically efficient? That's right. To start with. So at least you're thinking the shortest amount of time that you need to spend on the tools. Number two, I feel that it's important to go a delegation list. So what are the things that I could really get probably somebody else to do that's on site, or a subby to do, as an example, that I don't have to do? And you just got to get really, really clear with stuff. Can they get there and meet everybody? The answer is probably yes. Can they do some, particular, cleanup or setup? The answer is yes. Can I get them to, look after one specific part of that particular job if they're the expertise in that? The answer is yes. So there's 3 or 4 things when you think tactically that you could get a delegation list for somebody to be able to do. You don't need to be there for the first person to be there and the last person to leave. You could delegate that if you wanted to, right? That's number 2. Number 3, I think it's about how do you start to get somebody specific for the job that could do as good as you, if not better, because a lot of the reasons why most people don't succeed in getting off the tools is they go, mate, I just went and fixed everybody else's mistake. I'm putting out fires all the time. These guys are hopeless.
Yes.
I have to go and do the job again. It's always very much that same lineage. So I'm like, well, if you get the wrong person for the job, obviously they're going to do the wrong job. If you get the right person for the job, but you don't explain exactly how you want it done, they're probably going to do the wrong job. If you get the right person, you explain exactly how you want it done, but you don't have what I call redundancy or stopgap measures in place to communicate as they go. Hey, mate, I've done this part. Are you happy with it? I've done this part. Are you happy with it? Like an aircraft would have redundancy systems, right? They're probably going to not make it. So all of those 3 things, you You need to be critical. And the biggest one that I want everybody to take away from is, how do they see things through your eyes? Because if they can see things through your eyes, now it's good. Have you ever noticed a business owner usually sees a lot of stuff that nobody else sees, even though we're all looking at the same stuff? It's kind of how it works.
Yes. So how do you get people to do that? Because this is a familiar conversation that I have with my clients as well. I said, they've got to see what you can see. So
look, I use the best technology in the world available to us today, and that's a mobile phone.
Got it.
All of these have got 1080p HD cameras. So, and everyone, including my mum, knows how to use the video. She's 84 or something. So you can press click and just record something and send that. So the best way that I do, and we do this a lot with our clients, is just tell somebody to give you a progress report, just, quick video, and in 5 minutes I can tell you the world, undoubtedly. Right. So it's something along the lines of, hey, Nick, man, let me just show you, this is where we're up to with this job. And mate, we've had a bit of a problem here. We weren't thinking about that power line being here in the middle that we need to move, mate. We've got to call the electricians to come and move it. Other than that, mate, we're building this. This part's already done. Here you go. Click, boom, send. That's it. I couldn't explain it to somebody on the phone quick enough versus that video. So that's the good way. That's what we're talking about. Communication systems. And then the final part, I think, to this equation really is the ability for you to transcend who you are today. Because if you identify as a tradesperson that has to be on the tools versus the business owner that owns the place, that has other people working for him, until you transcend that, until you move into that new identity, it's going to be very hard to get you off the tools. Because Chris, we've had plenty of clients that nod their head. Yes, I understand that I need to get off the tools. Yes, we've got too much work. Yes, I've got all of these other jobs I need to do. Yes, I'm falling behind on the quotes, but they still go, mate, I've got to go there and be there myself. If I'm not there, nothing can get done. And the truth of the matter, that's bullshit. I mean, CEO of Wattpack isn't pouring concrete. What I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
So you've got to think the board of built putting formwork up.
I look at it this way, and I explain it this way. If lecturers and professors can teach other people how to do brain surgery or, heart surgery or anything like that, then I'm pretty sure that people can create a system that other people can follow in order to do carpentry or put up.
I'm pretty sure as well.
Or whatever it might be. And that's how I explain it. Guys, there's not one brain surgeon on the planet. There's multiple brain surgeons, but they've learned and they've practiced and they've, followed a system. So for people that have that kind of control measure, I can't let go. Well, we just need to spend a bit more time looking at the system that you're using to train people. And then, like you said, using things like technology, creating those redundancy measures, communication, huge. And I think, I'm just such an advocate for systemization. Have you spent enough time mapping out the steps in your construction software program? Is it on paper at the very least?
Well, it's interesting, just with that, a lot of people, especially with business owners, think that everybody else has seen it through their eyes, but they're not. And we've proven this at our events and stuff like that, just within the system. So, when we really think about that, we've got to think about, how much of the detail are you leaving out? And is that detail exactly what you need to get done? And most of the times it is. Hey, mate, build that wall. Okay, cool. I'm a plasterer. I get it. I can build a wall. I just had something done here at my place. And the guy came and he goes, I'm going to do it like that. I'm like, dude, that's not how I want it.
Yeah.
Here's how I want it. And even though he's built it, he can build it. That I sort of had the input on how I wanted it. Is it the ultimate and exactly how I want? The answer is not 100%, but it's pretty close to what, could be done there. So, it's technology today, and communication is the biggest thing. If people can get it done exactly how you want it done, that's a good procedure, right? So
yes, and the system can be trained and then followed. So
and by the way, one more, I think you got to set yourself a time to exit. Within the next 90 days, within
that's
the next
good.
180 days.
Yes,
It's like the ship's got to take off to Mars. That's the
and
window.
putting the deadline, because then that compresses your activity and you really have to figure out that system pretty quickly. So
Exactly.
that's definitely a great
Yeah,
point.
rather than an open-ended on when things work out.
Yeah, I'll get off the tools next year.
Yeah, next year. Like,
Because
it's
then the
pretty,
next year comes around and they're like, yeah, I said next year, because then it will be the following. So yeah, we've heard that.
pretty wide. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, cool. Let's kick into our second question. And it's again something that people may think about, but they actually struggle from because of a lack of time and attention around this next point. So my next question is, how much time should you spend managing your finances and why?
Yeah, that's always a good one, right? Look,
Yeah.
I like to think about it that there's two levels. Number one, three levels. Number one, unconsciously incompetent. Where it comes to money, because most of us have never learned it, we actually don't even realize that we're making a mistake with that money. That happens all the time. I put money in the wrong bank account. I went with the shares that I shouldn't have. I spent money on stupid shit that I shouldn't have done that. It's all the I shouldn't have, right? It's unconsciously incompetent.
Yep.
And then I think you move to a phase where you become consciously incompetent. I actually know that I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to balance the books. I don't know how to read a P&L. I don't know how to balance my checkbook.
Right.
I don't know how to, it's that phase.
And this is probably where a lot of business owners sit.
But most.
They know
I know I've
need
got
to
a
do it.
problem. Yeah, I know I need to get better, but what do I do now? Right?
Yes.
That then becomes, or it's okay, and I think it'll do.
Yeah. I know I need to do it, but I'll leave it to the accountant.
But I'll leave it to the accountant. So, consciously incompetent. I don't do that. My bookkeeper does that. I don't do that. My accountant does.
That's right.
I don't even know what I got in the account. My accountant, it's all of those. Right? Consciously incompetent. Well, I think it's consciously stupid, one or the other.
Okay.
I think it's somewhere borders that. And then you go to the last phase, which everyone needs to get to. And this happens with everything from, driving a car through to eating food, through to washing yourself in the shower, through to whatever. And where you become unconsciously competent. You're so good at it that it doesn't even come into it. And I think if we spent enough time on managing money and understanding money and learning about money and understanding how to do the basic. We've been talking about the book Profits First. You know what I mean?
First, yes. Yep.
Yeah, which is just pay yourself first and then manage it out and work out your business that you can only afford up to that given amount of time, right? Which is, once again, like we spoke about, richest man in Babylon. I think when you become unconsciously competent at that level, because you've done it so many times, you've worked a lot on it, you've learned, you've spent time to understand it, all of these things that come from that, I think it's important for us to then be able to get to that stage. Now, some people, once again, aren't putting in the effort to do that, and that's why the management becomes clunky. Today, when you hop in the car, you're not thinking, oh, do I need to start the engine, take the handbrake down, put it in D, or, put it in first. You don't think of any of that stuff.
So just on that point, so is unconsciously competent habit?
It becomes like an athlete, yes.
Got it.
It becomes ingrained into, it's almost like at a molecular level.
Right.
You react rather
muscle memory type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, with the art that I do, like Krav Maga and, Kung Fu before that, you become reactive or proactive unconsciously. You see it straight. Just me doing that, I can feel my body tilt at a particular angle is because I've trained that 200 times. You can see my hands already taking shape into let's say somebody trying to give you a haymaker or attack you with a knife that way. That's an instant reaction for me. Like I'm out of the way. Why? Because it's just been ingrained. And you could imagine if you concentrated that much and learned how to manage money in different scenarios, put money away, talk to people about money, learn stuff, watch video, all of these things, you could imagine what that would turn into. It'd be excellent.
So how much time do you think business owners should be? I mean, look, you could spend unlimited amounts, but realistically, how many hours is it, or what's the time frame? And what should they be looking at specifically when we're talking managing money or managing finances?
Yeah, that's a good question. My personal opinion is I think you got to do probably an hour or two a week, just understanding it, reading stuff.
Got it.
If there's Money Mastery by Tony Robbins is one of the top books if you want to know how to invest and where to put your money and all of that type of stuff, right? Which is awesome. I think there's ones around the MBA, which is for your Masters of Business, and it's kind of money made easy. Learning all the key essentials for to learn your MBA. Basically, it's MBA, accounting made easy. Think about it like that. Sure. I think there's a guy, Doug Kaufman, called the Easy MBA by Doug Kaufman or something like that. Let me just. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Kaufman's written.
Yeah, I think
quite
it's
a few textbooks, right? Actually.
Yeah, something along that. Yeah, the Personal MBA, actually by Josh Kaufman.
Josh Kaufman, right.
My Personal MBA. It's a really cool book. It teaches you a lot of really, really good areas. And I think if you read that, and it's made really simple, world-class business education, a single volume is what it's called. So maybe we could put that in the notes or whatever. But, something like that, MBA accounting is more than enough that you'll need. Or, the way that I've done it as well is actually to sit with my accountant and say, look, can I pay you can you teach me some basic accounting?
Yep.
So I get to understanding. And then that way it might be really, really cool for you to get. Yeah. Here's another one. It's called The Portable MBA, which is a really good book by, there's a few people writing on it by Theodore Grossman. I've had that when I was studying my MBA. So it's a Portable MBA in finance and accounting. It's called.
Got it.
You can get it in an ebook as well.
Okay. If you're listening to this and thinking, holy hell, Nick's asking me to read an MBA book, that's A, going to be difficult, and B, I don't want to even jump in at that level. There's a couple of metrics that I work with the clients, and you'll be the same, Nick, that are very, very important to understand and learn. And you can learn these from either us, from a coaching perspective, or from your accountant or bookkeeper. That's understanding, obviously, things like expenses and how to reduce them consistently. Margins on your products, so what you're doing in terms of breaking even and what margins you're actually making. We also want to look at profits, because profits are super important. And a lot of business owners are concentrating on growing that top line of revenue, meaning just sales, but they ignore the very, very bottom of it. And the ultimate goal or the ultimate success really is to grow sustainably and grow that bottom line sustainably at the same time. So expenses, margins, and profits, those three things you need to completely and inherently understand. If you need to ask your bookkeeper, do a course, read a book, whatever it is, get a great grasp on what's happening with that. And your accountant should be able to walk you through this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's money in versus money out, right? At the end of the day.
That's it. Money in versus money out. Understanding cash flows is going to be critical. And I follow a guy from Canada, and he always says it's not lack of market share or lack of ideas that kills businesses. It's just lack of cash flow. That's it. Just not having enough cash kills businesses. So if there's anything that you can pull out from that, it's understand your finances and, more importantly, your cash flow at a intimate level to help you grow. Last question that I've got for you today, Nick, is something that business owners might struggle with. And I know that I did until I learned a little bit more. But the question is around, should I feel guilty as a business owner if I take time off from my business? And I might be working, 40, 50, maybe 60 hours a week. And I feel that if I take an hour off to myself, maybe to read one of the books that you've spoken about, I could be spending that hour, I don't know, doing lead generation or fine tuning a system so I can get off the tools quicker. But sometimes there's a level of guilt that people feel, I shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing something more productive. What's your take on that?
Yeah, we could be here for hours on this one. But, so guilt, first of all, is a value set. It's a part of your values. This is inbred into us. I'm guilty that I'm spending money for myself. I'm guilty that I didn't help that person. I'm guilty that I had that extra piece of chocolate cake. I'm guilty, whatever. Think about it like this. And it's interesting. I can sort of connect this to my goal that I've set, getting healthy and weight loss and all that stuff. And as you know, or maybe we've sort of spoken a bit about this on the show, but, I've set myself a 90-day kind of goal for me to
Yep.
get to where I want to get to. And normally I love eating bread. I love pastas. I love chocolate, biscuits, all of these things. You've taught enough with me, Chris, to know I love all of those things.
And the twisties.
And the twisties, right? Well. And the twisties, right? So, life's pretty straight without a twist. So, I love it. Even the and the one thing that I've looked at for this challenge, my wife said something the other day. We were out to dinner, with my mates and all of that stuff, and she goes, "No, it was yesterday. She were at breakfast, and I just ordered bacon, eggs, poached eggs, and avocado, really clean, And somebody said something, and they said, 'Oh, it's eating clean,' and she goes, 'Nick's been eating really, really well and clean.' And that was interesting because somebody else has noticed that I do that. And the temptations, yesterday I could have, she bought donuts for everyone. And some people, here's the shift. Mm-hmm. So a value set is a value set because it's to the eye of the beholder. So what somebody sees as guilty, others see as normal. My mate, the guitar player, he'll sleep till 11 o'clock at night. He goes, "But dude, I got off stage at, by the time I got back from, let's say, he plays with Earth, Wind and Fire. They've done a gig, finish 11:30, 12. There's backstage meeting all the people, all of this stuff. There's 40,000 people in the audience. Yep. He does all that, and he doesn't get back to the hotel till like 3 or something. Up on the bus, all that stuff. And then he'll sleep till 11, but really that's just 8 hours sleep. That's what I mean? Like that's his thing. And then he gets up and then, because he works at night, that's his thing. So, and they get to the stadium or whatever they're going to play, they're there by 6. I know because I've been on tour with them. So, so that to everybody else would be, mate, you'll sleep until 11. What do you, but you see what I mean? It's within the eye of the beholder. Yep. So to come back to what I was saying, for me, the way that I changed the value set around is I've got a bigger reason why. So a lot of people that aren't taking time off, or they're working all the time, or, we need to push hard to make money, they're not really seeing the bigger picture of this. Because let's think about it for a second. If the bigger picture said you need to get your senses about you need to rest a bit so you're good, it's like an athlete. There's only so much they can train, or else if they overtrain, it actually does them worse.
That's right.
And their bigger goal is what? Gold. That's it. Like come first or gold at the Olympics. That's it. That's it. Second place. So the way that I started to look at it was, in the bigger scheme of things, for me to not feel guilty that I'm eating chocolate or whatever it may be, or any of this stuff, what I thought to myself was, if I do have a piece of chocolate, or if I do, have a Coke, or if I do have a whatever, it's not going to be the end of the world, because on the bigger scheme of things, I've got a longer level of zone. Now, funny enough, when people go, I should take a little bit of time off, usually it should be to work on your business rather than in it. So it makes sense that I'm going through this with a client at the moment, 18 staff. I'm like, dude, you need to lead these guys, not be on site. We just spoke about the whole on site. He goes, well, what do you mean I need to be on site? I'm like, no, dude, you're forgetting about all the other 17 that need your help, and the company and the accounts and the new clients and the goes, oh shit, like I'm seeing it. I said, so do you see what I mean? The value set, depending on how it's looked at, can be changed. So for me, I don't feel guilty now if I have a piece of chocolate. It doesn't matter, because 99.95% of the time I'm eating really well. And the reverse to that is I reward myself for not eating junky foods, because once again, I've got a bigger time. So, to answer your question, when it comes time to work, you got to work. When it comes time to rest, your body's trying to tell you, hey man, you got to rest, just take it easy for a little bit. I mean, could you imagine this innate wisdom that's called the human organism, hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, the mind of what it could do? Like, could it possibly be that it doesn't know exactly what you need? Could it possibly be? That's a kind of that would be the same as, talking to the texter and going, oh, maybe you should tell me what to do. Like, your innate senses already know. And this is what happens. Have you ever noticed when you're flat out, you're burnt out, you're tired, you're shitty, you're grumpy? Have you ever noticed what your finances usually look like? Pretty much probably the same.
Yes.
Why? Because you're just exhausted, you're not caring for it, or you're so stuck in a rut that everything else around you is a disaster.
Mm. Okay. So don't feel guilty, number one, for taking time off. If you're taking that time off, more than likely you're investing in yourself, which will then invest back into your business. So it's going to benefit from it anyway. But I guess that innate knowing and understanding that, hey, my body's telling me or my mind is telling me I can take some time off and I shouldn't feel bad about it. Because like you said, 99.95% of the time, you're working really hard and kicking goals anyway. So it's just a matter of, looking at it from a different perspective, and I guess a slight shift in value set if that's where you're stuck, and taking well-deserved time off because you deserve it.
Because you deserve it.
Because you deserve
Well,
it.
if you think about it, we've got 24 hours a day times 7, and then times 12. In all of those hours, to take a few hours off every week doesn't really matter.
No.
If you can be really good 95% of the times and take 5%, the 95% outweighs the 5. It's
Completely.
simple bloody mathematics.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the Olympian analogy though. They don't train 24 hours in the day.
They can't.
No, they
They'd
can't.
like to, but they can't.
Yeah. So
It's
they
actually
actually,
the rest and the recoveries when they get stronger.
they understand that rest is important for their performance. That's why breaks should be considered an investment in performance for a business owner.
Yeah, like if you look at, here's the best way to say it for a business owner. There's eco challenge racing, and that eco challenge racing is teams of 4 or 5 that need to be doing that together, and they can't be more than 700 meters apart or something.
Right, right.
They need to do it, and it's non-stop racing. They
Yep.
just did one now in Fiji. It was 700 kilometers, right, across the worst terrain in the world. Right?
Yikes.
It's nasty, right? Jungle thing, hot terrains like this, all of these things. And the top teams, not only do they pace themselves, but what they do is they go hard and then they rest. Like as soon as they stop, these guys are all asleep for like 4 hours or something like that.
Wow.
3 hours, 4 hours, and then they're up again, and then they race for another 20, right? But the way that they do it is they've learned mentally that when it's work time or push time, they're moving. And then after these races, after they do this for like, it's a 10-day race or something like that, 12-day race or something. It's brutal. Like 40 teams start, 6 teams finish or something like that.
Yikes.
These guys are resting for like 4 months.
Sure.
Because they're depleted.
Yeah.
So if you think about that with your business, you've got to go, if you want to get to the zone, you need to work, but you need to take breaks to re-energize and recover. And then even if you go hard for a month, then expect to take 3 or 4 weeks off. You can't work solid for 7 years. I know people. I was talking to somebody yesterday.
Yeah.
I said the longest period that I did was about 200 days non-stop, no days off. 200 days. She's like, are you crazy? I'm like, bro. At the time I thought it was cool, but now I go to think about it.
Yeah.
In 100 days, your head's fried already.
Completely.
You're like, oh man, everyone's going to the beach and I'm going to work.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And all right, you're making money, but it was the wrong strategy completely.
Yeah,
I missed out on all the cool days.
Yeah. Life's finite. That's kind of how
What are you missing out on if you're not taking time off from work?
That's right.
When they lower you down, they're not going to put, oh yeah, you never took any time off from work.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to value set. It really depends on what you value more: family, life, business. That's like you said. That could be a whole nother.
By the way,
a whole nother episode.
I've got something to finish off with just on that. I like what Elon Musk said, where he said they asked him, "Should you be spending all this money on, the Mars missions?"
Yep.
Versus the planet, and his answer, like Elon Musk, like a legend, he goes, "Why can't we do both?" So he's doing it. Tesla cars, all the technology that they're using from battery type cars.
Yep.
And he's going to Mars as well. Why can't we do both? So with your business, why can't you work and take time off and still have a successful business?
There we go. We're going to leave you with those wise words from Elon Musk. And so true. So, it's a good thinking point. Again, thank you so much for your time today, Nick.
Oh, good, man. Hope everyone enjoys it.
I'm sure they will.
Takes the time to listen to us.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for your 30 minutes of devout listening.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you've got any questions or anything that you want us to share on this or these episodes of Coaching Conversation, if you've got anything that you want to share with us on Coaching Conversation, shoot it through to ask@upcoach.com.au. and we'll be able to break it down on the show. So we'll speak to you and see you all again next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.